Hi, I'm Kat.
And I'm Gabe.
And we're
The Ghouls Next Door. Dee.
Yeah.
And this is a horror genre podcast
Yep.
about all things spooky.
Mhm.
And it's talked about by the people who love them.
Yeah,
which
me
is
and
us.
Gabe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do that.
So this episode is about horror movie scores.
Score.
Specifically, why the spooky sounds make you scared. Why are they spooky? What are they doing?
What's it do to you in your brain?
Yeah.
And why does it make you go, ah,
Why make you feel things?
yee, egad.
Cats.
Oh, my stars.
Yep.
But we couldn't just do this on our own because me and Kat, Kat does music stuff. You
Yeah.
heard her intro. She did that.
Whoa.
That was her. Straight from the mouth. There she is.
Yep.
Listen,
always
the
figure
only
out.
thing scarier than the last 12 minutes of this podcast is the first fucking, I don't know how to
92.
do math.
Fuck.
Whatever, 48 or something.
Probably.
All right. But me and Kat aren't exactly the most skilled in the musics of the fear-induced variety.
Yeah, we have to have also guests sometimes too. So.
Sometimes we feel like we should bring someone else to endure our lives.
Yeah, so we kidnap a stranger.
We have them in our living room.
Yeah.
That's haunted
Yeah.
with our cats.
Huh?
And then and they don't have a choice. They're actually locked here forever.
Yeah.
And that lucky person today is Sergio.
Wait a minute.
Welcome. Hi,
Sergio.
Sergio.
Didn't
Hi.
agree to that. Hold on.
This is him.
Okay, hey.
Too
You don't have to
bad.
agree to
You're our-
kidnapping. That's not how it works.
Hi.
No, you're already here. You agreed with your body being here.
Okay. Fair enough.
You didn't really have a choice.
Yeah. His
we've
body
had-
said yes.
You know, his...
Kidnapping. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
do you see what he's wearing?
Yeah.
Clothes.
Fancy shoes and a sweater
Fancy
with
old man
lots
shoes.
of layers.
Dad clothes. So, we brought Sergio so he can tell us about music in horror movies and movies in general.
And just like horror things in general.
Yeah,
Why
he knows
do
about stuff.
scary sounds make you feel scared?
That's a good question. Cat from Cat's Corner.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to talk about the importance of that eerie soundtrack that convinces your brain when to be afraid of the big bad.
Yep.
Where would we be without music? We would be soulless creatures in the night,
Yeah.
wandering.
Very true.
Get-
We wouldn't know what to feel.
We would get devoured by our own dogs in a courtyard of mausoleums.
We'd be
Mhm.
blind.
We'd be blind of the ear variety, also known as deaf.
Oh, true.
Yeah, we're going to talk about memorable film scores and revisit some classics and why they make sense
Mhm.
and why we need music. So we always start with something personal.
How personal are we talking?
It's just like why you feel like you have any...
So not that personal then.
No,
No,
it's just
we're
like,
talking
why-
about
like why? Like why? Yeah, well, honestly, so
Hey, directress, tell me your secrets.
you need to give us 3 truths and
Oh.
no lies
Whoa.
Yeah.
and your social security number,
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
where you live,
I'm not going to do that.
your birth date, what's your mom's maiden name, and then we'll continue. It's just a part of the
Gotcha.
podcast.
Like
It's
Gotcha.
just a thing.
Just
usual
part of the podcast.
It's just the way it goes.
Just part.
Everyone does
Right.
it.
Right.
It's totally fine. How
Right.
good is your credit? It's just that's just a random question to have that we have, and maybe you should answer.
It's
it.
just like when you're right here, right now. Where's your wallet?
Right.
And like,
Yeah, like where's your head at?
Okay.
Where's your
I
wallet?
see.
What savings account is your bank in?
does your phone have a
Uh-huh.
fingerprint lock on it?
Definitely.
or is it
yes.
just like a password?
Nope.
Yeah.
Does your finger need to be alive?
to access it?
Don't think so.
Retina scanners?
Could cut my finger off. Could do
We
it.
can play this like Splinter Cell.
we could do whatever. we want.
Passed out bodies can still open doors.
But it's more like, why do you think? What does it mean to you? Honestly, it's just the gist. So for me, Gabe.
Hell, it's dead.
So music really steers your emotions, and also like location-wise steers you. If you're so like when you're playing a video game,
Mm-hmm.
when the music gets intense, like that's when you know shit's going down. Things are going down.
Yeah.
And when we were playing Until Dawn, we had Jeff over, and there was a part where he walked into a room, and as soon as he walked into the room, the music heightens, and he was like, "Nope,
No.
not ready for that room," and just turned right around and left.
Nah. It's a no
I'm
for
not
me.
ready for that.
It's a no for me, dog.
And it like ups your like anxiety, even if you're not even a horror game, but if you're playing like an action game or an MMORPG and you're walking around, all of a sudden it's like da 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 da.
And you're just like, I'm gonna fight. Where's he at?
Where is it?
Da-na-na-na.
Yeah, it's like back in the day when they used to play like the drums when you're going into battle because you're like, I am amped. I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah.
And that's what music is.
I'm amped now because of the way you're talking.
Well, what?
You're just making it sound like something's about to happen.
And then you just want to scream, and you're
Yes.
like, why am I screaming?
Because
I'm in a public place,
war.
and we're all civil human beings.
Yeah.
What is it good for? Nothing is what I heard.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
I heard it wasn't good for anything.
I agree with you because with the horror genre, it's like, you know, when it comes to the soundtrack, it really defines what kind of movie you're talking about. I mean, like, even when you're watching TV, like if there's like a weird soundtrack that doesn't kind of fit the scene, you're taken out of it. I mean, I was watching something the other day, and the soundtrack, and I don't want to name drop it, but I will because it's Love on Netflix. Season 3 is pretty good.
Yeah.
And the soundtrack kind of blows. It's not good. I don't like it. But it took me out of it. And so, but with something like It Follows, right? The guy who did that film also did a bunch of video game music. He did, I don't know if you guys know Fez. It's this really cool like platformer, sort of like a Super Mario 3D, like a very simple thing, just a puzzle game. And it's this electronic synthy 80s influenced sound that like really created a world for this film. Essentially, it allowed, well, the soundtrack for that film allowed for, you know, at least me to really just get invested in what was happening on screen. Because like you said, you know, when you're going down a hallway and you're about to turn a corner and the music changes, you know, your perception of what's happening on screen changes too. And your perception of of that character, like how that character matters to you changes as well. It's the same for every single film. You know, furthermore, if you're not listening to the soundtrack of that film, if I could digress to a story right now. I was watching Clown. I believe you guys talked about Clown.
Yes. Don't get married that you're kids. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. I was watching Clown for the first time over the holidays with some of my friends, and we were in a just a clubhouse, like watching this film.
Mickey's or just like a
No. Like, it was actually chicken and cheese. No. We were in a clubhouse, like at my friend's, like, you know, his parents' house. And we were so what was happening was the clubhouse, which we did not own, had the speaker system playing music that we had no control over. The whole night we were there, we were just playing music. I mean, it was soft. It was like low.
Really
it was
stressful.
like low, super low music, but we didn't really realize that it was there.
It's like we're walking down Point Breeze.
Yeah.
Well, we're watching this movie, right? Clown.
Yeah,
And
we're familiar.
The whole time, we were listening to the clubhouse music over it. And it changed the entire tone of the film. I'm telling you.
Like, in what direction?
What it was is it made it not scary because the whole experience was like, you know, it was almost comedic. Actually, it was entirely comedic. We were laughing the whole time. I mean, I laugh at horror movies in general, but you know, this was one of those experiences where it was like, this doesn't fit at all. And then it made the movie different, right? And we didn't finish it that night. We ended up watching it another time.
You were like, oh my God, this is a completely different movie,
It
and I'm upset.
It was totally different. It was entirely different.
The song goes through the kid, and it's like, dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, exactly. That was the scene we saw, and we're like, this is like, it would have been
This
way
is
different
intense,
with the.
and I'm happy, and I don't know. It's not okay. I don't know how to feel.
With the clubhouse music, it wouldn't have been that way. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
what I'm saying is like, you know, when it comes to stuff like horror films, especially, the music sincerely changes the way that you can perceive and experience the film.
Yeah, I know. I definitely agree because, like, thinking of examples, specifically a film that angered me because of their use of soundtrack was Suicide Squad.
Oh, jeez.
And it's because it came at this, like, tail end of, like, Guardians of the Galaxy, where the soundtrack is prevalent to the story. Like, it is it's a character in the story, the soundtrack. Because it's like, this is hit music, it's relative. He has a volume 1 playlist that's literally a tape that he has in his, like, cassette player. Exactly.
Hooked on a feeling.
Exactly. So, but I feel like Suicide Squad completely just did not realize that. And they were just like, oh, you just take old hip music that people enjoy and you put it on your film.
Yes.
But it was just this hodgepodge of just like they just played anything that was popular in the last 40 years randomly, and it didn't have anything to do with the story. It was just
Smooth by Santana.
yeah, they played they played Eminem in this random
Jesus.
fight scene. You're like, what are you doing? What?
Oh, God.
Why are we here? And it was infuriating
It's like Metal
it
Gear Survive.
was just so clear that they were trying to that they had just heard the soundtrack for Guardians. It was like, oh, that's a thing, and didn't understand that was they didn't actually watch the film. They just heard about it from a third person source.
This is what the young people like.
Yeah,
we just put the stuff with the things that's popular. It's fine.
Tone
They'll
deaf.
buy it. The populace. Feed them cake.
Is this an old Jewish character you have?
It is.
And then
You got words to say?
No, I'm sorry. I don't understand. And then the other thing was I was rewatching one of my guilty pleasures, which is a CW show.
Love
I think.
WB17.
Which was Rain, which is about it's like a royal show.
Oh, Rain. I know what you're talking about.
So it's royalty, whatever. She's a Scottish queen. She's gonna marry the
We
French
watched that
prince.
for a hot second.
Yeah,
It was the
but-
blonde guy versus the brown hair guy.
yes.
The whole time.
It's a lot. It's a lot of that. But the whole first season, I'm rewatching it, and I remember before I was like, I love the soundtrack because it's cute. But I realized the reason I like the soundtrack so much was that the whole first season is just Lumineers songs. It's not a joke. All of a sudden,
Old-timey?
yeah, all of a sudden,
How?
they would go on the dance floor, and it's just flowers in your hair, whatever fucking song it is. And it was Ho Hey plays 15 times an episode.
You're
She opens
kidding
up.
me.
No, I'm not
It's
kidding.
like old
She open-
England.
Yeah, she opens up. It's
They weren't
France.
alive.
But this is the thing. I wanted.
It's actually German. Suspiria takes place in
Whatever.
Germany.
I wanted
All the movies.
I wanted the soundtrack because they took the Lumineers and they made it old timey. And some of the scenes, when they're doing dances, they took it and it has this old
That actually sounds really interesting.
It's yeah, it is.
I kind of want to
But
hear
then
that.
there's times when it's not, when it's literally just the Lumineers or some other indie band where they
Band star.
open a door and then it's ho, hey, you're what?
Yeah.
She's defending her country's
It doesn't
honor.
fit. It doesn't fit.
Yeah, it was so weird, and I was it's just them trying to get in touch with the youth.
I was scared of dentists and the dark.
Yeah, and then she's just Prince, I cannot marry you. It's for my land. They will behead me. And spoiler.
This has
time.
nothing to do with horror or anything, but it's just music,
I mean, honestly,
Makes
royalty
us feel things.
of any kind is kind of horror movie.
Yeah. It's definitely true that the way the music hits will really influence how you're going to feel throughout. I mean, that's universal. It's kind of music. It's its own form of linguistics, and it's very important when you're playing games. If you're in life, if there was a real soundtrack and something horrible was going to happen, I think it'd be pretty cool. If there's some eerie music to,
Some warning.
yeah, it's just you knew you were going to walk into some fucking
That's the dream.
awful things, and then it's just suddenly it was just
But I feel you have that internal warning anyway. Don't you ever just feel that, this dread?
you just play your own music in your head. We're just
I'm completely oblivious. I'd be the first one to go.
You're
what is that noise? I
Yeah.
must
this is really
going on?
loud.
Yeah, it has a big impact. That's what we were saying.
Yeah, true.
In summation.
Yeah.
True.
So I mean, just in everything in video games, you always know when you're gonna die. You can't turn back. In life, you don't get that warning.
You're right.
Oh no,
Sergio.
why have you been drinking paint?
Leave me alone.
Fucking the whole movie. She didn't even question.
Drinking
Don't
fucking
put me
paint
in
like
there.
it's
Didn't
normal.
even question.
I'm allergic to coil, Sergio. Help me.
The whole first act of this film is really just it's just a lot of huh? What? What?
Stop! If there's a fucking face, stop! All right, now I'm freaked out. I don't like when I see faces and things.
Yo, guys, listen to this fucking
That's
drum line.
So, Kat, why don't you, since you know some stuff, you wrote some stuff before about what is the correlation between music and emotions and what you're doing
Back
with
in
it?
the day, when I was
How
in
far
college,
back? Oh.
this was the first time I transferred. I was at Stockton. I took a linguistics course, so now I know everything.
Oh.
But yeah, essentially, like, we're taught from a really young age how different sounds and like kind of tones will make you feel. So it's very like culture based. So you'll kind of notice if someone's angry, if they're yelling, or if they're sad about something, and like kind of like the tone of their voice, and that transfers into like music and how you'll interpret sound. So like C sharps is or like flat versus sharps and what have you.
Yes.
So you can like play Mary Had a Little Lamb in a happy way, and you're just like, yeah, Mary had a lamb. That's great, awesome.
I love lamb.
And then you play Mary Had a Lamb with like the flat sounds, and it's like, oh God, what sheep died? Why am I sad suddenly? And it's like there's just like studies done and tests proven that like when you play certain sounds, it makes you feel different emotions, and especially if you line them up, like as you were saying, with actual situations that are at hand, it really changes how you perceive what's happening. Or like you can tell if there's happy music and then like happy people on a screen that something happy is happening. Where if you had like fighting angry music over like happy people, you'd be like, this is like, what is this? I don't understand. Why is this doesn't match, it doesn't fit. You would like understand that it wasn't supposed to be together, as you said, like with clowns.
It's disorienting.
Yeah, it's just like, this isn't how it's supposed to be. My mind is telling me other things.
And my body is telling me it.
Sometimes it's funny. Other times it's awful.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you know it doesn't make sense, the absurdness of it
Right.
creates its own form of comedy. A lot of research behind the idea that sound and tone and all that kind of stuff really influences your emotions, and you're taught that from an early age. Like what sounds are happy, what sounds are sad. And it's not always the same.
Yes.
But music has a way to give you a really intense form of emotion.
Yeah.
Music finds a way.
Yeah. Sometimes
The music's in you
in life,
when you least expect it.
love happens. Music happens.
Yeah, going off of what you said, Kat,
Mhm.
composer Neil Brand,
Specifics.
this
Yes,
man,
Quite.
he said, human
Adam.
beings are very good at interpreting sound. Right back to when our prehistoric selves will have heard a twig snap in a forest and thought, that's it, I'm dead.
It's very instinctual. You get it from like, it's nature versus nurture, I guess, you know. You grow up and you see the things that are good and the bad and the sounds and the tones and the facial expressions, etc. And it just influences how you go about your life from that point on.
Yes.
What's good, what's bad, what's life-threatening, what's not.
He says, we have a very deep understanding of what music is doing, and it's very physical. You can feel it going into our ears via sound waves, and it can produce all sorts of physical responses, including in the right circumstances, an actual thud to the stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah, like your heart starts pumping. But and kind of jumping off of what Sergio had said before with Clown and how listening to other music kind of took you out of it. Another film where the soundtrack was so important to the film was The Witch.
Mm-hmm. That movie would have nothing going on otherwise.
Yeah, well, it's like it's just eerie. So when I watched it in the theater, it's like one, it's dark, it's pitch black, it's just you watching this family. You feel like you're intruding on their life, but the whole time, like nothing is really happening. Like nothing happens in that film, but the whole time you're hearing like this
falls
eerie,
on that
just
dad.
like in that like whole. Like, it's the kind that makes, like, your teeth grind together, and you're just, like, intense, and it just heightens the fact that you shouldn't be there and you shouldn't be watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so intense when I watched it in theater. And then we watched it again for the podcast with Kat, and I was on my crappy TV where you turn it up to 100, it still sounds like it's 15. And you're like, it was like a whole different
It made me hate it. I was just like, why does
It was just
anyone
kinda
think this
boring
is
at
scary
that point. It
They
ever?
was
call
like-
that the Dunkirk effect.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing happened without that soundtrack. So it's so weird to hear, like, to have experienced it that way. And I'm thinking, like, if it had a different soundtrack, would I have felt that way? Would I have, like, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. I mean, talking about movies like It Follows as well. It's like, it's not very scary to have someone slow walk at you down a hallway, but you
No,
add
it's-
that music and you're just like, oh my God, he's going to kill him. Like, it just makes it very real. It makes it more visceral, you have that kind of twig snap moment where you're just like, I need to be out of here. Oh my God. Where it's, you see someone walking slowly at you, you're just like, I mean, I guess maybe I'm scared. I don't know.
No, but that's the thing. That's the thing, though. Like, it all goes in tandem. You know what I mean? And it's more than just the soundtrack, because the soundtrack, well, the score always comes, at least it should come after the fact, right?
Yeah.
So
it should be intentional, and I feel like if it's not, it's ruined.
Intentional, right? So Disasterpiece, guy who scored It Follows, and Disasterpiece, like, I mean, he saw what they were doing with the film. He understood the tone. He saw the colors involved, the acting involved. And he said, it has to be in this realm. It has to be in this environment. 80s, synth, chiptune. It's got to feel like we're in this town. You know what I mean? And that's what he did.
Yeah. And it's like a lot of horror movies have that really memorable soundtrack. Because there's a few, like, you know, action films. Like if you hear Pirates of the Caribbean, you know exactly what movie it's like. Yeah, those stupid things. Or like Star Wars, like you know what you're hearing. Anything by Danny Elfman, like you're like, oh, cool, I'm in a Tim Burton. You know, but with horror movies, there's like the specific soundtracks that draw you right to that emotion in that field. So you have like Friday the 13th, which is like everyone knows that, even if you haven't even seen the film. Like we didn't really watch the film honestly until this podcast, but we knew what that sound was.
Yeah.
Or you have like The Exorcist, where Suspiria had that whole sound where that beginning where it's Tubular Bells is what it's called, the song for Exorcist. And the only reason I know that is because whenever we play Arkham Horror, I put on the horror film soundtrack. So it just plays popular horror film sounds. Specifically with Psycho, if you took out like the screeching violin,
I can play that. Do you want it for the podcast? Because I will do it.
We will have you do it. But that whole sound when they're being stabbed in the shower, if it wasn't there, it's nothing. Nothing is happening.
It would be real scary.
That's the case with like everything, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the soundtrack is part of the lifeblood of so many films. You know, some of the best films ever made, if you ask me, especially with the movie we just saw tonight.
Well, think about it. Like even silent films have music. It's just silent because there's no words in it.
I mean, it's just so important across the board. You can even like on Steam, I always see that like you can buy the original soundtrack for games and stuff. Like people take it really seriously. It really influences both nostalgia, but like how you feel about what you're doing. It's just
like how
horror or not. It's just really important. And in horror, the sound is so important.
Sound is important. Guys.
It makes or breaks everything. It can just ruin stuff if you can't. That. I hate people who are intentional. Shit. You can't. You need it to be intentional. You can't just throw a bunch of random stuff together that you think like, oh, the young people will like it. It's like, no. If you're gonna do art, fucking do art. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No.
And
just do the whole thing. Don't just do one piece. Do the whole thing.
Don't half-ass two things. Whole ass one thing.
Yeah.
Ron Swanson.
Okay, so my background comes from production sound. Right. So not necessarily scoring.
Yeah.
But the importance of sound in any media, hugely, hugely important to someone like me in the industry. And so one of my biggest mentors, his name is John Averies. He's a professor from the university that I go to. And, you know, he's a composer and a production sound mixer, because in this day and age, like when you get hired to do like a film or to do like a show or anything like that, it ends up being, you know, on that person who does the sound to also do the composing. And I mean, listen, this guy won't shut up about how important it is to compose for your films, as opposed to finding library music, or as opposed to, you know, trying to make it work with whatever you can. Because the truth is that, you know, as much as you have a vision for what you see visually, the vision must exist auditorially, right? And so, you know, from my experience in production sound, it'll make or break the movie. You know what I mean? I mean, what ends up happening is, like let's take it this way, right? There was a scene in Suspiria where, you know, obviously most of that film really loud, really loud. You
can't even hear the words.
Extremely, extremely loud music going on, and it cuts out very, very quickly, very often. And there was a moment where there was a woman trapped in a room, and there was somebody trying to get inside of the room, right? Mm-hmm. And so the music fell silent. And actually, I don't know if you noticed, in a very different way than most other parts of the film, because normally it cuts out. But in this scene, it faded because it was intentional for the viewer to hear the way that the assailant was trying to get inside the room with his knife.
That was the stressful part. It wasn't the music. It was them trying to get in.
Yeah. With his butter knife.
Pay attention to this.
With his butter knife. And so, but like, that's the thing. Aside from the soundtrack, the Foley that we heard of that man trying to open the lock was extremely important for that scene, as well as her breaths of trying to get up and over, whatever suitcase
out the window
tower
to
she
the
was trying
coil
to build in
fountain.
that scene. She was trying to get over. She was trying to get out of the room. Yeah.
Let's put the littlest one on bottom.
It like fell apart
Physics.
underneath her. Like
it was made of cardboard. It was not real.
But it just goes to show.
It's just her fit.
It just goes to show that, if you don't have all your bases covered when it comes to production sound, your movie can fall apart really quickly, especially when it comes to horror.
Yes.
Yeah. Movies can get dumb. They don't.
Real dumb.
They ain't smarts no more. Yeah. They can be really ridiculous, though. If you have an absurd soundtrack, it just ruins the entire thing. I feel like any of those, like, kind of $5 Walmart bin
or any Netflix B-rated horror movie.
You know what I'm saying? Where it's just like, it can make or break. It can really just make something that's probably terrible in the first place more terrible. Where, like, if they actually had a good soundtrack and it was really intentional, it might actually be somewhat decent.
Yeah.
Aside from the fact that the premise of it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, you just tell people what to feel. Because, like, you can have all the words you want and you can tell them at people, but they're not going to feel anything unless you just dive into that, like, psychological part of people.
You hit the instincts.
Yeah. Where they're like, ugh. And you get that, like, you get the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah. I feel like in horror movies, though, it's just really important when you make people feel uncomfortable. Yeah. Like, I feel like that's such a big key piece of it. I used to love, like, there's certain, when I was doing, like, random mixes and stuff on Mixcraft, because I was just like, I know how to do stuff. My favorite sound was the egg cracking noise because it was so physically uncomfortable to hear. It was like, it's hard to describe.
Use your mouth.
It's like a cracking of an egg. I can't do it. Like you crack it open and it's
believable.
It's clicky.
It's like crack.
Clicky
on
sounds.
It Follows, Disaster Piece actually use a lot of like real world Foley just like that, like glass breaking.
Yeah.
And, tires screeching in order to make the set that he wanted to. Exactly.
And especially like something like glass breaking and tires squealing and stuff. Like those are things that come before or during like a stressful thing. Like if a glass is breaking, triggers. That's not a good thing. And if there's like tire squealing, again, that's not a good thing. So it's just like something that we associate even more modern with like terror and problems.
It triggers human instinct to be like, oh God.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Gap. And like, I can't, I'm watching this.
I had one friend who like, I actually did a lot of songs with where his big thing was making things that were physically uncomfortable in terms of beats. So you would not have beats follow like regular patterns. And it would be really stressful to listen to. I would actually hate doing songs with him sometimes because he would like make it like clangy and like you'd think it was like regular beat, like 4/4 or whatever. And then it would just be like, it would switch halfway through and it would be so uncomfortable. And you would know what you wanted it to sound like. You knew where you thought it was going to go. And it never fit that. And it just like,
it's like waiting for the drop.
It was like I felt like it was like I needed to crawl out of my skin. But like that's the kind of stuff music can do. It can just make you so uncomfortable. And I think that's why it's so important in horror films or horror anything. When you need to feel scared, you need to be uncomfortable. Yeah. And music is just the easiest way to do that. You can do that with no visual whatsoever. Yeah. Just like sound.
But even like thinking of like when you're saying anything horror, when we play Arkham Horror, the board game, I like to play like Call of Cthulhu
it really
or things like that.
To
and
it.
Every time like, and the thing is like, I don't orchestra. I just put it on shuffle. But then all of a sudden, we're like just doing our strategy thing, thinking, and all of a sudden you'd hear like when the occultists come in, when they would come on, and you hear them like chanting the like Cthulhu things, like rock, 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 and they're like just whispering, like it's this really intense whispering. But so the whole time you're hearing like just like scary sounds, and then all of a sudden you'd hear like, and everyone would stop what they were doing, and we'd be like,
leprechaun.
and you'd get like the goosebumps because you're just like,
we're fighting monsters.
And you're like, oh my god,
I'm
what's
just
on
trying-
the floor?
I'm
Something's
just
on the
trying
floor.
to get to the library.
The floor is lava. You're just lost. Like, and it was so funny because like we were doing something completely mundane. You know, like we would just be like strategizing how we're gonna fight this stupid card monster, and it was like, we're like,
It just plays to
change
human
it,
instincts.
change
and it's
it.
so important.
I thought it looked like somebody like tiny arms like came around her neck. Yeah, I gotcha. This scene is more stressful than it needs to be. You know what I mean? Like she's really just like waiting for a taxi, but like, yeah, she's like, like the trash cans falling over with that's her
It's
back.
raining and you can't fully see me. Let me run in front of cars. Her hair, like,
Listen to that fucking
not wet.
yeah. It's like what kind of music is this?
So why don't we talk a little bit more about the film specifically, because that was something memorable. Let me give you a background.
good.
It was fun, right?
It was a
Yeah,
fun
Right?
it was an experience. to
I will
say
never
the least.
unexperience it.
It was good.
No,
It was
I can't
good.
get that.
I'm
time
actually
back.
really happy we watched
Guys.
it.
Oh,
It was
good.
funnier. It had a lot of good sound bites that we
Yeah.
could just like comment on.
And it,
Comedy
there's
gold.
something about this film is that what I found was interesting is
Mhm.
that the only thing scarier than the last 12 minutes is
Was
the
the
first
first 92?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Uh,
like
That's a
our
hot
podcast.
take. Gabe.
yeah, I mean,
So,
it's just
wow.
something I got off
a
the
good
top of
point.
my head.
It wasn't
Um,
on there.
92 is really specific. How'd you land on that number?
I guess.
It was 1
Okay.
That's how I
hour
felt
and
inside.
38 minutes. It was 1 hour
I
and
felt
38
it
minutes.
inside
It
me.
said.
But
That's how she
Suspiria is from 1977,
I ruined it.
and it was very obvious based on the outfits that it was in 1977.
And the
man
decor.
was wearing overalls
The,
that gave him
the
a
fake
camel
transatlantic
toe.
accents.
It was
I feel like
all
it's
bizarre.
not a camel toe though. It has to be a different phrase.
Nah.
Is there
What,
like a
when
different
you have-
phrase for men?
No, there's male camels.
I don't know.
it's called the bulge.
No, that was not a
No.
bull.
No, it was not.
That wasn't-
the bulge.
It was
There
not
was a
his-
battle happening.
It was not his bulge. It was the other
It was the
part.
battle of his
It was the
balls
part you
trying
didn't
to
wanna
escape
see.
the
Right,
confinements
right,
of
right.
those pants. But
His penis was nowhere to be seen.
Jesus.
so
Poor guy.
this film is directed by Dario Argento.
Yes.
An American ballet student was the character who transfers to a prestigious dance academy in Germany. Later realizes, amidst a series of murders, murders, that the academy is a front for something more sinister and supernatural.
I just thought the movie was really great, honestly. I enjoyed a lot of it. Especially there's just so much absurdity to it that now looking at it from like a modern perspective, I guess, that the coil or like my throat is really some sort of meat or like a puppet or
I'm
something.
sorry,
It was so
what?
weird. They cut it and it did not look like a human throat.
The dog?
No, the human.
Because the dog looked like it was a sock puppet when he was.
Oh well,
biting,
yeah,
he
when
was
the
Yeah,
dog
doing
was
the
eating
whole
the
thing.
guy.
It was Triumph.
It's pretty funny.
It was
man.
an oven mitt and he was just like
It was Triumph, the dog.
So I don't know if you guys know this, but this
Mhm.
is actually
I
part
don't.
of like sort of a not a series, but
Wait,
it was
you
a
think we
specific
know
kind
things?
of like genre
Mhm.
that was happening. I'm not
Yes.
sure if I think it was an Italian thing. I'm almost certain it was an Italian genre of like
see.
female-led like horror films that involved like
avant-garde?
cults or witches or things like
Yes.
that of that nature. And they all had ridiculous soundtracks just like this one, where you would see the same shot or you would see like in the famous Inferno,
Mm-hmm.
world-renowned Inferno. It's like a shot of where the camera comes out of this window and it goes over this roof of this building.
Mm-hmm.
I swear to God, the shot is like straight, like 3 minutes long, and all you hear is the theme music, because that's the thing. Each one of these films has its own theme music.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you'll have like this like insanely long sequence of just this music over nothing. Roof tiles.
But it makes you feel something.
You're
nonetheless.
supposed to be horrified, right?
Yeah, you're just like,
And
oh,
honestly-
the tiles, they're there.
Honestly, the music itself, bizarre enough to make you feel something on its own.
Yes.
But still, like, take the music away from what you're seeing,
There's no film.
doesn't work.
Yeah,
Well,
we should
also,
sorry.
you would be able to hear people.
Mm-hmm.
Because every sound that wasn't, like, everything was done really well and all the music was very loud and very much in your ear, except for anyone talking.
Oh yeah, you couldn't hear
All of
any
that
the
was
words.
definitely underdone. So it's like, if you took out all the film, all the music and all that, you would be able to hear what they were saying, which is not what is important.
I mean, you could definitely tell with this film specifically that what we were hearing was extremely, like, in control. I don't know if the director sat in with the mixer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, every set has its own set of rules or whatever. But it seemed as though that it was extremely intentional, that everyone's voice was very subdued. Every conversation was, you had to lean into it to understand what exactly what we were hearing.
Everyone
But
was
then the
dealing
music-
with the witch
And then you get
skits.
thrown right back.
The music would be just this
Disastrous.
explosive, disastrous, chaotic. It didn't even sound like music half the
It was
time. Honestly,
cacophonous.
half the time it was just screaming
Yeah.
or
One of my
whispering.
one of my
Babies
favorite
being
words. This was the best example of one of my favorite words, which is cacophonous. And it's not very often that you ever hear anything that's literally cacophonous, and that was it.
That was it.
Honestly,
Okay.
the way like I felt about it is like when I took my mental health first aid training for working in schools, and what they required you to do is there was one test throughout, whereas so you could understand what it was like to be someone who had schizophrenia, essentially. And what they would do is they would have someone like whisper into your ear through like a piece of paper that was like coiled up or whatever to like make a phone or whatever. And they would just whisper in your ear while someone else was trying to talk to you. And this is what that reminded me of a lot, because you would be trying to like listen to what was happening, and then you would just hear this like noise, like really overwhelming sound and noise where you're just like, oh my God, I just want to know it's life. I can't hear what they're saying. And it's just like really stressful. But honestly though, if like, could you imagine like the whole perspective that they're trying to teach you in that is like what it's like to have schizophrenia.
Wow.
And
I
it's like
definitely
just to
had
hear that
schizophrenia
whisper and the noise and stuff
Wow.
like that. I feel like this is kind of giving you that same perspective where it's you're trying to just live and like hear things and understand, and then you just have this like chaotic, loud music and just like constantly. And that's what that one girl, the smoking girl, was dealing with the entire time. She was just listening to these demon whisper whatchamawhats.
The craziest, the first time I saw this film, because full disclosure, I saw it before tonight.
No.
The first time I saw this film, it was the moment that really got me. The moment that I was actually like, I jumped in the first act after our hero, Susie, after she left in the middle of the chaotic, very loud. It was so loud when she arrived at the dance building. And she left, and she was on the way to wherever she was going. Never explained.
Nope.
Driving away in the taxi, and you saw, that first girl who got killed running in the forest. That music, the drums and the screaming,
Yes.
it was like
Very
insane.
native and like
And that was probably the most jarring thing that I heard. And that was the moment that I realized that I loved this film, because it knew exactly what it was doing as soon as it started. It needed you to understand that, no, this is the kind of thing that you need to listen to really, really feel it.
yeah. And the music was so dramatic that what was equally dramatic was the lack of the music.
Yeah, when it was silent
It would
for a
just
second. you're just
like someone would open a door, and as soon as it closed behind them, the music is off.
It happened a lot with doors, yeah.
Yeah, like they went to a new room, and now the music isn't in this room, and you were like, "What?"
they started at the beginning,
And
though.
you're
The very
uncomfortable.
first scene.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was walking towards the door, and there was all this music.
like,
and then
music,
the second
stop.
she went through, and it was like,
Music, stop.
the demons are gone.
Yeah, and there was just all this question of like, can the can the characters hear the music too? Because
one
there were
could.
times when it seemed like they could.
yeah.
And then there would be times when they didn't. But it was like, if they're hearing this music, like, of course they're going crazy.
It was as if the soundtrack was the monster.
I feel like it's about schizophrenia.
That
That's
was
just
the
what I
directress.
feel so
The
strongly.
directress.
The
This entire
director.
movie's about schizophrenia, though. That's what it is. The whole girl,
You-
she felt it. She felt the whispers. She felt the music, chaotic, whatever. And then she started to go nuts. And then she got murdered or whatever.
So you're saying contagious schizophrenia?
No, but it's like witches inciting schizophrenia.
You say every single film we watch is schizophrenia.
I just feel very strongly about mental
Exorcism,
health. I'm just saying.
schizophrenia. The Sixth Sense, schizophrenia.
Sixth Sense was schizophrenia. He saw
No,
dead people.
That's not schizophrenia. That's
He had
the Sixth Sense.
hallucinations.
That's what the
I
sense
feel like
is.
it's the sixth. Yeah, it's the sixth.
Yeah, the
one.
sixth one you have is that. Seeing dead people.
Yeah.
There's
Sev-
lots of people who probably think they have the Sixth Sense, and it's because they're schizophrenic.
The Seventh
All right, I
Sense
got an
is
idea.
schizophrenia.
Let's make a movie.
Called the
Uh-huh.
Seventh
Totally
Sense.
original.
Yeah.
Seven Sense.
What's
All
that?
right. So get this. The kid is the same kid from Stranger Things. Nah.
Which one?
Will.
Will,
The guy who plays
okay.
Will. Yeah.
Is
He
Bruce
doesn't look
Willis in
anything
it
like
at all?
Billy Joel
But he has
Osment.
to keep the bowl cut.
Yeah,
because
wait.
that shit's creepy.
Wait, is Bruce Willis in it
Or-
all? Because we need that Bruce Willis mess
We
around.
need the
That's
we
true.
need the Bruce
Or-
Willis twist. Sergio, why did you pick this film?
So the thing about Suspiria is I think that it really shows the power that comes from, really choosing a score. It's the perfect example of, especially because it's from the 70s, it was starting to become the golden age of film. And it was just like this time where, people, to this day are drawing from, And so I feel like and I also watched this film when I was on a kick of like seeing really old horror films because I wanted to know what it was like to see a scary movie back in the day, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, seeing this in theaters, which I hope people did, must have been a horrifying experience.
Yeah, because it's
With that-
loud. Oh
it's
my God, it'd be
so
loud.
It's extremely loud. People must have walked out from
And
that.
then it like blows your ears out, so then
Yeah.
you really can't hear when they're saying stuff.
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
visually, you're like impaired because nothing is correct. None of the lights are correct. Nothing is
Colors
normal.
are weird. The doors
The
explode.
like
there's
the
bats.
wallpaper is
Yeah.
bright pink. It's like Willy Wonka's fucking summer home, and you're stuck here. And there's colors all over the place, like you're at a rave. Well, it's your lucky day, Sergio,
What?
because you're gonna get the opportunity to watch a film just like this in theaters because they're making a new one
Who would do
in
that?
2018 with Grace Chloe Moritz.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She's gonna be in it? That's so cool.
And
That's
I mean,
I don't know if I
a
like
little,
that. That's insane.
a little less cool.
Okay.
Dakota Johnson from 50 Shades of Grey fame.
What? Wait a minute.
I was told. She's the main girl from 50 Shades of Grey because I was told I look like her when I had bangs back in the day.
Yeah,
and
I
taught
can see that.
preschool. I was told I look like her.
Most importantly, who's scoring this?
a preschool teacher.
I don't know who's
parent
hold on.
told me I look like her.
Also, Tilda Swinton.
Oh,
She's gonna be there.
I bet she's the directress.
She no, because I think she's like in it. I think I can see who the directress is. Yeah.
So the person
I'm gonna hate
who's
it.
scoring this film is Tom York from Radiohead.
Radiohead. I hate
Now
Radiohead.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. This could
Gabe
either
hates
be
Radiohead.
one of the greatest things to happen in modern cinema, or
Or the worst.
or like a confirmation that like,
Tom York
that-
is a fucking punk.
Yep.
Sorry,
Gabe-
fight me.
I don't endorse that message. I'm just saying. Gabe
You know
says it.
what? I get it. He's an artiste.
There's lots of people who love him.
avant-garde.
Just say.
I
Lots of people
know.
who love him.
It's fine. I can
I'm
have
not saying
opinions.
I'm one of them. I'm
And
just
love-
saying
and
a
love
lot of
Radiohead.
people do.
I can have opinions.
You're loud.
You can, you might be wrong.
Come at
So
me,
great.
Tom. Come at me, Thom.
Come at me, yeah.
Thom Yorke.
Fucking dumb. What?
Yeah,
Why?
Thom Yorke.
More like dumb.
Yeah.
Just be Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas.
Thomas.
Full disclosure, I feel like this film took so many chances.
Or half disclosure then.
Okay, well, either way, some form of disclosure. I feel as though that this film took so many chances, and really stuck to its guns, and decided that it was going to be this sort of thriller that was attacking your eardrums, and a sense that I previously didn't really feel was vulnerable, you know?
Yeah.
And then to find out that it was part of a larger, like, sort of trend of films that did a similar thing was extremely interesting to me. And I recommend it to anybody who has interest in 70s films or horror films from the golden age.
And you were saying that the band did the entire score.
That's right. So there was a band. I mean, you see as soon as this movie starts, Goblin. I don't know where this band comes from, what genre it's got to be noise,
it's Animal
because
Collective throws instruments downstairs. Donna.
Yeah, because
Atmosphere.
they scored the whole thing, and
That's
I'm not
not
sure
If it's hell atmosphere, the atmosphere of literal hell
They didn't specify what atmosphere we're in. It just says it's
in
kinda that.
space where no one can hear you scream. Atmosphere.
They actually, for the soundtrack of this film, they recorded the birth of a demon baby. Yeah.
That's such an interesting fun fact.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. I was like, wait, no.
Probably. Yeah, that'd be too hot. It's actually the monster of this film is just this insane soundtrack. Why is there a room? Why is there a room with this? All right, best part is that this is supposed to be barbed wire, but there's no spikes. But she's still getting cut up. But there's no spikes.
No,
Fine.
wait, no, I thought you meant you were gonna go.
No. I'll
it's
tell you
your
what.
turn.
I'll tell you what. I will say that to anyone who has any interest in films, who has any interest in visual media, sound, I mean, literally ever since the 1950s, 60s, is king. I
Yeah.
truly believe that,
Makes or breaks.
whatever visual representation you want to have of your story or of your characters must be accompanied by sound that can as well appropriately bring that story across, whether it be dialogue or the music that can make you feel what the story needs to make you feel. It's the soundtrack that can bring it home for anyone, especially because you can sell it as an original soundtrack and it makes it more money. So you might want to.
Yeah, and it's just so important. I feel like if you're gonna be lazy about something just to make money or do something like intentionally stupid, people do that, and that's just like it's a money grab. It's whatever. But the people who are actually trying to make something beautiful, make art, they have to be really intentional all the way through, and music is a big piece of that. So don't be fucking lazy.
Yeah, dude.
That's how I feel.
Okay, so we're wrapping up. I think horror movies
Okay,
are
we'll do this
great.
first. Okay,
It's scary. It's wonderful.
yes.
We would be emotionless without sound in film. I'm not gonna say I think it would be interesting to talk to someone who's deaf who watch horror movies if they feel just as scary.
Oh,
Yeah. Yo,
true,
yes,
true.
that would be really interesting. Someone please tell us.
They might not like them. They
Because
might
they're just
actually
why do
really
they
not.
just stab people all the time?
They might not like movies in general.
It might be a different effect. I don't know. I feel like
They'd have
maybe
to-
it'd be scarier because you don't have that context,
Me,
or maybe it's goofy. I don't know. I really would like to know. Actually,
would you guys say it's the last 12 minutes or the first
92,
98, 78?
92.
You know what? I honestly have to say the first 92 minutes are way scarier than the last 12.
I would agree with that. Honestly,
I
Yeah.
really
Oh, yeah.
have to 100% say
They
the
that.
definitely
last
left-
12 were just like I don't open doors.
Yeah.
Doors
Yeah.
just explode and I exit.
Like that poster did not lie. Straight up told us, listen, you're not gonna like
Nothing
the ending.
is. Listen, yeah, they were like, it is not scary,
It's like
but
it's
the first
really
part
scary
is, and then
up
it's not,
till then.
and then it's not anymore.
There's
That's why
a
we
light outline
specifically-
and then she stabs it. And it's done. Spoilers.
overall about when you're talking about horror movie scores, would
Yes.
you say it is the last 12 minutes, as in it's bad, or it's the first 92?
Oh, hands down, the first 92 minutes are the scariest and the most important part of a movie.
Agreed.
Yeah, 92 minutes all the way. Horror movies are great, and it's because of their music. Their music.
But yeah, horror genre.
Anywhere. Do it anywhere. You watch a scary play, it's there. If you're reading a scary book, just play some creepy music in the
You're
background.
walking
It
down
helps.
the street.
Don't. Not if you live in Philadelphia.
True. Don't do that. Don't
People
do
will
that.
smile at you and you'll just be like, oh God.
All right.
I would
Listen to
cry.
it.
Thank you so much for joining us, Sergio.
Thank you, Sergio.
No problem.
Thanks for sitting in our living room and subjecting us to the torture,
You
the
did
oratory
this. You have to
torture.
live with it
I had
forever.
fun.
It was a good time.
The directress.
Hang out with us more.
All right.
Yeah, definitely. We say that.
It's real. It's on the radio-ish time, so it's
I mean,
official.
Sergio may or may not be trapped in our basement after this.
Yeah, that's how our guests go.
Huh?
Jeff's been down there for a while.
Yeah.
You wondered where Jeff was.
What?
It's his choice. He lives there now. Yeah, so you heard it here, folks.
You heard it first here.
Well, you heard it at some point.
First
Maybe.
here.
This is the first time you've heard it here.
Yes.
Yeah, I concur. And we
Quite.
we dragged another person into our home. It was wonderful, and we loved having you here with your insight. We would have never watched that film without you.
Yeah, it's very true. I would never have seen that ever.
I'm
and
really glad
happy.
I
You gotta.
did.
2018, folks.
We're going.
Get ready.
We're
But, like,
going. We're gonna have a field
Together,
trip.
we're all gonna go see
gonna have
it
a
because
field
we
trip.
have to now.
Don't get married, they'll eat your kids.
Don't get married. They'll eat your kids.
Bye.
Bye.
Wait, Sergio, what should you not do?
Don't get married. Don't want your kids.
Uh-huh. He said it. He said the thing.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah. Nice Suspiria.
I'm scared of you tonight, Suspiria.
Yeah. That.
You used to what you like, Suspiria. Suspiria.
Bum bum dee dum bum bum dee dum bum